Hello there, and welcome to Sleepy Cosmic Lullaby. Tonight's question sounds simple until you actually try to hold it in your hands. How far could a human being really travel through space in the span of one single life? And the truest answer is a paradox, warm and strange at once, far enough to leave behind every room you have ever known, and yet nowhere near enough to reach the far wall of the house itself. Both things are true tonight. Neither one needs to be solved before you sleep. Think of it this way, because this is the thread we will follow together until morning. Picture one small candle, carried by a steady hand through an endless house. A house with more rooms than any single life could ever count. Doorways opening into darker doorways, hallways leading into hallways that never seem to reach a far wall. The candle does not need to reach the end of the house for its walking to matter. It only needs to move forward, unhurried, past whatever it is given to see, letting its little circle of light rest for a while on each new threshold before drifting on to the next. We have 4 such rooms to walk through tonight, 4 slow regions to drift through one after another, and you do not have to remember a single one of them, because I will carry the candle for you. First, we step out onto the doorstep, through Earth's own doorway, and into the near bright rooms of the inner solar system, where the sun still feels close enough to warm the walls. Then we move into the long hallways, out toward the outer planets, and 2 faithful little travelers named Voyager, walking all the way to where the sun's own house finally runs out of walls. After that, we cross the space between rooms, the hushed distance of interstellar space, where something almost tender happens to time itself, a kind of quiet mercy folded into the physics of moving fast. And last, we drift into the farthest rooms of all, out toward the horizons of the visible cosmos, where our one small candle finally learns something about the true shape of the house it has always lived inside. If this kind of company has been useful to you on other nights, a like or a subscribe helps this candle find its way to someone else who is also lying awake right now, staring up at their own ceiling, wondering just how big the house really is. But none of that matters right now. There is nothing here tonight that needs solving, nothing to hold on to, nothing to keep track of. Let your shoulders ease down into whatever is holding you up. Let your jaw loosen. Let your breath find its own unhurried rhythm, low and even, needing no help from you at all. Settle in. Let's begin. There is a particular kind of question that only seems to arrive at night, once the lights are off and the mind stops needing to solve anything urgent, and it arrives now as you settle deeper into the mattress and let the day finally leave your shoulders. How far could one person actually go in one single life if the whole of the universe were somehow open to them? Not in theory, not in some far future with technology no one has built yet. Just you, or someone very much like you, given a single human lifetime and asked to walk as far outward as that lifetime allows. It is not a question that needs answering tonight. It only needs holding, the way you might hold a warm stone in your palm without needing to know exactly how it was formed. Let it rest there while your breathing lengthens. Tonight, to hold that question, we are going to borrow a small and steady image and let it lead us wherever the night wants to go. Picture a single candle, not a bonfire, not a flare sent up in an emergency, just one ordinary candle. The kind that sits on a windowsill, small enough to be cupped in 2 hands, its flame no bigger than a fingertip. Now imagine that candle being carried, unhurried, through a house so large that no one has ever found its outer walls. Not a house built of wood and plaster, but a house built of distance itself, where every planet is a room, and every light year of empty space between the stars is a long, dim hallway connecting one room to the next. The candle does not need to illuminate the whole house at once. It only needs to light the few feet directly ahead of whoever is carrying it, one unhurried step after another. And somehow that has always been enough for anyone who ever wanted to see a little further than where they were standing. This is the house we will walk together tonight, room by room, hallway by hallway, for as long as one human life can carry a flame. And because every house needs a floor plan, before you can wander it in the dark, let's set the ruler for the evening now, while your eyes are still finding their way to closed. Here is the ruler, light, the fastest thing that exists, the fastest thing that can ever exist, takes about 1 3/10 of a second to travel from the Earth to the Moon. Say that again to yourself, slowly, the way you might repeat a phone number you're trying to memorize. 1 3/10 of a second. That is how long it takes for light, moving at nearly 300,000 kilometers every single second, to cross the gap between our porch light and our nearest neighboring room. It is barely longer than the time it takes you to blink twice. And yet nothing we have ever built, no rocket, no probe, no gleaming engine dreamed up in any laboratory, moves anywhere near that fast. Our fastest ships are wonders of human patience and ingenuity. But against the ruler of light itself, they are closer to a determined ant crossing a garden than to anything resembling a beam of light crossing a hallway. This gap between how fast light moves and how fast we move is the real shape of tonight's question. It is the space between wanting to walk the whole house and how far your legs can actually carry a candle before the wax runs low. But before we even think about stepping outside, notice something about the room you are already standing in. Earth itself, this planet spinning quietly beneath you even as you lie still in your bed, is the first room of the house. And it is astonishing how easy it is to forget that we are already somewhere extraordinary. It has water pooled in oceans deep enough to hide mountain ranges. It has an atmosphere thin as a coat of paint, yet exactly thick enough to let us breathe and to burn up almost everything that tries to fall on us from above. It has a temperature so gently balanced that ice and liquid and vapor all exist here at once, taking turns, painting the sky and filling the rivers. This room is warm. It has always been warm, in the way a home is warm even on its coldest morning, simply because it is the one place built precisely to hold you. Every person who has ever lived, every single one across the whole of human history, spent almost the entirety of their life without ever leaving this one warm room. Explorers who thought they had traveled to the ends of the earth had, in truth, only shuffled from one corner of this same room to another, still standing on the same wide floor, still breathing the same recycled air, still held by the same invisible hand of gravity that tucks every one of us in each night, whether we notice it or not. It is worth sitting with that for a moment, the way you might sit with the last warmth of a cup of tea before setting it down. For most of the story of our species, the horizon was the wall of the room, and nobody minded, because the room was, and still is, enough rivers to follow, mountains to climb and describe to those who stayed behind, oceans that seemed, to the people crossing them in wooden ships, as vast and unknowable as any hallway of stars could ever seem to us now. We have always been creatures who wanted to know what was past the next hill, the next shoreline, the next unlit doorway. That wanting did not begin with rockets. It began the first time someone stood at the edge of firelight and wondered, quietly, what was out there in the dark beyond it, and then picked up their own small flame and took one step forward to find out. And so, only very recently, on the timescale of the house itself, we finally reached the doorway. Not a hallway yet, not even a full step outside, just the doorstep, the threshold between the room we have always known and the very first room beyond it. You can look up on a dark night and see this doorstep glowing softly at the far end of the entry hall, a pale disk hanging in the dark, close enough that its light reaches your eyes in just over a second, the same 1 3/10 of a second we spoke of a moment ago. It has watched over every fire ever lit by every person who ever lived, every candle carried through every dark room of human history, and it has been waiting there patiently this entire time, at the edge of the entry hall, for us to finally walk far enough to reach it. Think, for a moment, about what 1 3/10 of a second really means, because numbers this size have a way of sliding past us unless we let them land properly. Light finishes its whole round trip to the moon and back in barely more than 2.5 seconds. Less time than it takes to say the word candlelight out loud, slowly, the way we're saying things tonight, and yet a rocket carrying real people, real breath, real heartbeats needs the better part of 3 days to make that same short trip one way. Light doesn't hurry to cross the entry hall. It simply is already there, the instant it leaves the doorway, because that is the nature of light. We are not light. We are the ones carrying the candle, and candles, however precious their glow, were never built for that kind of speed. They were built to be carried, patiently, by hand, by something that gets tired, that needs to rest, that has only so many hours in so many years to spend walking. This is, in its own way, a comforting thing to know, rather than a discouraging one. Because if light is the ruler, and our fastest ships are the ant crossing the garden, then the fact that human beings have crossed any part of this house at all, that we have stepped past our own warm doorway even once, starts to feel less like a small accomplishment and more like a small miracle, achieved by hands not so different from your own. Every voyage outward, however short against the true scale of the house, was carried by ordinary calculations. Ordinary metal, ordinary fuel burned a little at a time, the same unhurried accumulation of effort that built the pyramids one stone at a time. So let the size of the house be part of what eases you tonight, rather than part of what worries you. You do not need to reach the far walls to have gone somewhere real. The room you are lying in right now, this soft, blanketed, gravity-held room we call Earth, is already a marvel by any honest measure, a floating room of water and air and warmth, tucked inside a house whose true size we are only just beginning to sketch out. And the fact that human beings, fragile and short-lived as we are, have managed to step even one doorway beyond it, is the beginning of tonight's whole quiet wonder. That doorstep is the moon. It is the nearest room in the entire house, so close in the scale of what's to come that it barely counts as leaving at all, and yet it took everything early spaceflight had to offer just to reach it. Its pale light has been falling across every bedroom window, every campsite, every ship's deck, for as long as there have been eyes to look up and notice, patiently outlasting every person who has ever wondered about it. Tonight, before the rest of the house even comes into view, that is where we take our very first step, out of the warm room we have always called home, across the short stretch of entry hall, toward the nearest glow in the whole of the endless house, small and pale and closer than it has ever felt before. The doorstep is closer than it looks from the warmth of the first room, and the candle, held loosely in your imagined hand, is already leaning toward it. Cross that threshold and you are on the entry hall's far side, where the true scale of the house begins to reveal itself in numbers you can hold like small stones. The Apollo astronauts made this exact crossing, all 384,000 kilometers of it, in roughly 3 days. 3 days of drifting through nothing, watching the Earth shrink to a blue coin behind them and the moon swell from a distant lamp into a whole gray landscape waiting below. 3 days. Picture it as a long, unhurried walk down one hallway, the kind where you leave after breakfast and arrive when the house's shadows have shifted only a little. The destination never once out of sight. And yet, within that ordinary sounding walk hides the fastest any human body has ever moved. Apollo 10, on its return leg toward Earth in 1969, reached nearly 40,000 kilometers an hour, a speed so complete that its 3-person crew hold the record even now, more than half a century later, unmatched by anything crewed that has flown since. Let that sit for a moment, the way a fact settles into a pillow. The quickest any person has ever traveled happened decades ago, on a trip home, almost as an afterthought to the main journey. No one since has gone faster. It is a strange kind of stillness, knowing the ceiling was reached so early and has simply waited there ever since, patient, unclaimed by anyone new. Closer to the house's own front porch, other travelers keep a gentler, looping pace. The International Space Station moves at about 28,000 kilometers an hour, which sounds impossibly fast until you notice what it actually buys: one full circuit of the planet every 90 minutes. 90 minutes to trace the entire porch railing, corner to corner. Sunrise catching the windows 16 times between one waking and one sleeping. The astronauts aboard are not going anywhere, not in the sense the word usually means. They are walking the same loop of hallway over and over, fast enough to feel like flying, and yet the porch itself never grows any larger beneath them. Speed, out here, does not always mean distance. Sometimes it only means repetition, a very fast pacing back and forth across a floor that was always going to be the same floor. This is worth lingering on, because it is where the true shape of the night's question starts to come into focus. Imagine, for a moment, a whole human lifetime spent moving at these speeds. Not one mission, but 80 years of near-continuous travel at the pace of Apollo 10's fastest stretch, day after day, with no rest, no return, no slowing down. Even at nearly 40,000 kilometers an hour sustained without pause, a lifetime buys you something close to 28 billion kilometers of travel. It is an amount that feels enormous when written out, the way any large number does, and yet measured against the house itself, it is barely a stride. 28 billion kilometers is only about a fifth of a single light year, a fraction of the distance to even the nearest room beyond this one. The candle, walked tirelessly for an entire life at humanity's fastest recorded speed, could pace the length of the entry hall thousands upon thousands of times over, wearing a smooth path into its floorboards, and the house would not so much as notice. It would go on standing there afterward, vast and mostly dark, patient in the way old houses are patient, unbothered by even the most devoted walking. 12 people have actually stood on the moon's surface, and every one of them made the crossing in that same rough window of 3 days, give or take an afternoon, riding a machine no larger than a small room. Their footprints remain up there tonight, pressed into dust that has no wind to disturb it and no rain to wash it away, which means those first steps into the second room of the house may simply outlast the house's own front room, outlast every footprint any of us leaves down here. From the ground, watching a launch, The speed feels violent, a shaking, a roar, a column of fire pushing something heavy up and away from everything that has ever held it. But once the engines fall silent and the trajectory is set, the ride itself turns almost unnervingly peaceful. No sound carries in the vacuum outside the hull. No wind pushes back. The capsule simply falls, forever, along a curve aimed at another world, and the astronauts inside describe long stretches of near silence, the Earth rotating slowly in the window like something being watched through a train's glass rather than sprinted toward. Even the fastest journey a person has ever made, when you are inside it, does not feel fast at all. It feels like drifting. It feels, more than anything, like being carried. There is no need to feel small in an unhappy way, hearing this. It is simply the scale doing what scale does, reminding you, softly, that the house was never sized to a human stride, and that this was true long before anyone climbed inside a capsule to test it. The Apollo crews did not fail by returning after 3 days rather than 3 centuries. They answered exactly the question they were sent to answer, which was whether the first doorway could be reached and crossed and returned from safely. It could. It was. And what they proved, without needing to go any further, is that a body wrapped in aluminum and cloth, powered by chemistry alone, really can leave the floor of this room and stand, if only briefly, on the floor of the next one. That is no small thing to have proven, even if the proving used up nearly all the distance a lifetime of that kind of speed could ever offer. The ISS, circling endlessly at its porch-level pace, offers a different kind of arithmetic, one gentler and stranger at once. An astronaut who spent an entire adult life aboard it, which no one has, though some have spent the better part of a year, would rack up laps by the thousands, each one 90 minutes long, each one a full circling of the only room humanity has ever fully called home. 16 sunrises a day, 16 sunsets, the Terminator line sliding across oceans and deserts, and the pale scatter of city lights below, in a rhythm that stops meaning morning or evening at all. Multiply those laps by their length, and the total distance climbs into the billions of kilometers too, and yet the ISS goes nowhere at all, in the sense that matters here. It stays bound to the porch, tethered by the very gravity that lets it fall around the planet forever, rather than fall into it, an endless, weightless falling that never quite lands, which is, in its own way, the closest thing to flying a body has ever managed without ever truly leaving home. There is something almost restful in that fact, if you let it be restful rather than disappointing. Not every kind of motion is meant to carry you onward. Some motion is simply the house breathing, and the porch was never meant to be a hallway. Even the debris of that porch tells its own unhurried story. Old rocket stages, spent satellites, the odd glove or camera lost during a spacewalk decades ago. All of it still circles at roughly that same porch speed, caught in the same lazy loop, none of it going anywhere either. All of it simply keeping the ISS company on its rounds. Nothing launched from Earth in these near orbits has ever truly left. It only learns to fall in a wider, friendlier circle, tracing the same doorway over and over, faithful the way a porch light left on for someone is faithful, waiting there through every lap for eyes that might, eventually, look up and out past it. So set the porch pacing aside, and set aside, too, the entry hall's thousands of well-worn laps, and let the candlelight drift past both of them, out toward wherever the next true doorway waits. It does not have to be found by speed alone. It only has to be found by looking, the way eyes adjust slowly to a darker room after leaving a brighter one, patience doing what haste cannot. And there, some way further down the hall, past the point where the light from the first room fades to almost nothing, something catches the candle's glow and gives it back, not the pale gray the moon offered, but a low, rust-colored warmth, like a door left slightly open onto a room painted the color of a very old brick, or a desert scene just before the last of the evening leaves it. It has been waiting there the whole time, quiet at the end of its own long hallway for whichever unhurried traveler finally makes it that far, and the thread, still unbroken, begins to lean gently toward that reddened doorway now, the way a candle flame leans, almost on its own, toward wherever the air is moving next. And still the candlelight drifts past that glowing doorstep, past the porch where the bright ring of orbit keeps its patient 9-minute lapse, and further down the hallway something new begins to color the dark. A rust-colored glow, warm as an ember left low in a grate, marks a doorway that has waited this whole time for the candle to notice it. This is Mars, and unlike the moon, it does not simply sit at the end of a short hall, it moves. It circles the house's sun on its own slow, wide arc, and so the doorway itself drifts, some nights closer, some nights impossibly far, and reaching it means more than walking in a straight line. It means understanding the rhythm of the rooms themselves. You do not simply set out for Mars whenever the mood arrives. Engineers speak of something called a Hohmann transfer, and it sounds technical, almost cold, until you feel what it actually is, the gentlest possible path between two moving doors, an unhurried, curving glide that lets the ship coast for most of the way on nothing but the momentum it started with, sipping fuel only at the beginning and the end. 6 to 9 months, most of a year, drifting along that long, soft curve while Mars swings patiently around to meet the ship at the far side of its arc. Like someone crossing a room slowly enough that you both arrive at the same threshold without ever needing to hurry. And because Earth and Mars are both circling, both changing their distance from one another night after night, the doorway does not stay conveniently open. It opens only once every 26 months, when the two worlds happen to align in just the right way for that long, low-fuel glide to work. A launch window, they call it, though it feels truer to say the house rearranges its own rooms slowly overhead, and every so often, briefly. The hallway to Mars simply lines up. A single human life is long enough to watch this rhythm turn many times over. 26 months between openings means a lifetime of 80 years could offer 36 chances to step through. 36 quiet alignments of two worlds finding themselves close enough to bridge. No one has walked that rust-colored floor yet. The room is still dark, still unlit by any human candle. But the path there is no longer a fantasy stitched from wishing. It is simply arithmetic and patience. A door with a schedule, waiting to be walked through by someone willing to spend the better part of a year drifting quietly between two worlds. Picture what that year of drifting would actually feel like if you were the one carrying the candle down that particular hallway. There is no rushing to it, no sense of falling forward the way a launch might make you imagine. Once the engines finish their brief work near the doorstep of home, the ship simply coasts, held on the same kind of long, invisible curve that keeps a thrown stone arcing rather than dropping straight down, except this curve is wide enough to span tens of millions of kilometers and patient enough to take the better part of a year to complete. Outside the window, there is no scenery rushing past, no sense of speed at all, only the sun growing very slightly smaller behind you, and somewhere ahead, growing very slightly larger. a small red point that was once just a light in an Earth sky and is slowly, unhurriedly, becoming a place. 9 months is roughly the span of a human pregnancy, and there is something fitting in that echo. A long, unseen unfolding, mostly invisible from the outside, ending in an arrival that changes everything that follows. And once that arrival comes, the room itself turns out to be strange, but livable, in the way any unfamiliar room eventually starts to feel like it could be entered. Mars keeps a day almost exactly as long as Earth's, so a traveler's body would still know roughly when to feel drowsy and when to feel awake, even if the walls of the room glow a dusty ochre rather than blue, and even if the air outside any window is too thin to breathe and would need to be carried in, like bringing your own warmth into a cold house. It is a room a lifetime could genuinely stand inside, boots on real ground, candle held up to real rust-colored stone, before turning around 9 or so months later for the long coast home. But turn the candle the other way for a moment, back toward the warmth of the house's center, and you find 2 more rooms already lit, already visited, not yet by human hands, but by small silver travelers we sent ahead on our behalf. Venus glows just past Earth's threshold, a parlor heavy with heat, its air so thick and its clouds so dense that any window there would fog forever. And Mercury waits closer still, a sunlit alcove pressed almost against the fireplace itself, scorched on one side and startlingly cold in its shadows. We have not walked into either room ourselves, but we have sent our light in on our behalf, and what it found was gentler to understand than to imagine from outside. A spacecraft called Messenger spent years approaching Mercury not by rushing at it, but by looping past it again and again, and past Venus and Earth too, borrowing a little momentum from each flyby, the way a hand might catch a swinging door and use its motion rather than fight it, until finally the ship arrived slow enough to be caught in Mercury's grip and begin its long orbit close to the Sun. Later, a craft named for a physicist, Parker, dove even nearer, riding those same gravitational nudges from Venus to spiral closer to the fire than anything we had built before, its instruments cooled and shielded, sending back readings from a place too bright, too warm, for a body to rest in comfortably, and yet perfectly reachable for a small, determined machine following a carefully bent path. Notice what is happening here, quietly, without any of it needing to be dramatic. These gravity assists are not brute force sprints through the dark. They are patient loans of motion, one world lending a little of its own swing to a passing traveler. The way you might let a door's own weight carry you gently forward instead of pushing against it. The house itself, in a sense, participates in the walking, Venus tilting a trajectory here, Earth adding a nudge there. Each flyby a small favor exchanged between orbits, until a probe launched with modest fuel finds itself somewhere it could never have reached by force alone. It is less like marching, and more like being handed along, room to room, by a house that wants its rooms explored. Think, too, of how differently these 2 sunlit rooms would greet a visitor, if a visitor could ever step inside them the way a traveler someday might step onto Martian ground. Venus would press in close and heavy, its thick amber sky pressing down like a weighted blanket pulled up too high, its clouds carrying a faint bitter tang on the wind, were there ever a wind you could stand in. A room sealed shut by its own warmth, one no unshielded visitor could linger in for long, though its cloud tops, high above that crushing lower air, are oddly close to the temperature of a mild afternoon back home, as if the room kept one gentle shelf near its ceiling amid all that weight below. Mercury, by contrast, would be a room of extremes standing side by side, its sun-facing floor scorched pale and cracked, its shadowed corners, inside craters the light never reaches, cold enough to have kept ice tucked away in the dark for longer than any human memory. Neither room asks to be lived in. Both have already welcomed our small silver envoys, sent ahead to look around on our behalf and carry the details back. Taken all together, the rust doorway of Mars, reachable by a slow curving glide every 26 months, the heavy warm parlor of Venus already mapped by patient orbiters, the scorched alcove of Mercury already visited by ships that learned to borrow the sun's own gravity as a kind of gentle assistance, something becomes clear, and it is worth resting on for a moment before the hallway darkens further ahead. One human lifetime, using nothing more exotic than the engines we already build today, the same chemical fire that lifted Apollo off its pad could genuinely visit every inner room of this house. Not all at once, not without years of drifting between launch windows, not without the long patient wait for two worlds to align, but genuinely, actually, within the span of a single unremarkable human life measured in decades rather than centuries. Mars within 9 months of coasting. Venus and Mercury within the reach of the same gentle, looping paths our probes have already walked. The inner rooms of the house, the ones warmed most directly by the same sun that warms the bed you are lying in now, are not myths kept behind a locked door. They are close enough, in the deepest sense of a lifetime's arithmetic, to be within reach. And yet, even as that thought settles, warm and reassuring as the first 4 rooms of any real house, the candlelight cannot help but drift toward what lies beyond them. Past Mars, the floor grows darker underfoot, the air of the hallway seems to cool, and the doorways ahead are no longer close enough to glimpse their color from where you stand. Somewhere out past this last sunlit room, the corridor stretches on into a colder, wider dark, toward rooms so vast that Earth itself would be lost like a single dropped coin on their floor. The giant rooms, still far ahead, still waiting, where the walk from here to there is no longer measured in months, but in years upon years of patient drifting through the quiet. And beyond those sun-warmed parlors, past the last doorway where Mercury and Venus hold their small, steady light, the hallway of the house grows dark and cold and very long, and the candle you carry seems, for a moment, almost too small for what waits ahead. This is where the rooms stop being rooms in any way you would recognize. This is where they become giant halls, wide enough to swallow 1,000 Earths, floating in a hush so complete that your own held breath sounds loud inside it. You do not need to hurry toward them. You only need to notice that the house keeps going, and that others have already walked this stretch of hallway before you, leaving their footsteps mapped in patient numbers. Juno spent 5 years crossing the space to reach Jupiter's threshold. 5 years of drifting through the dark before its instruments could finally look down into those vast amber clouds, the great red spot turning below like a slow eye opening and closing over centuries. 5 years is not a short walk. It is most of a childhood, or the quiet middle stretch of a life, spent simply moving from one doorway to the next, watching the sun shrink behind you into something smaller than the porch light you left burning at the edge of the entry hall. And yet, Jupiter's room is so large, so heavy with its own gravity, that the weight feels almost fitting. You would not want to arrive at a hall so immense without first letting your eyes adjust in the darkness on the way there. Imagine the sheer size of that threshold. Jupiter alone could hold more than 1,000 Earths within its curved amber walls, and its storms have turned for longer than any human family line has kept a name. To reach a room like that too quickly would almost be a kind of disrespect. 5 years lets the traveler arrive humbled instead of merely arriving. Cassini took 7 years to reach Saturn, unhurried, patient, tracing a long looping path through the house before settling into orbit around those rings. Trillions of icy fragments circling together so precisely that from a distance they look like a single unbroken shelf of light, though up close each piece drifts on its own small path, never touching its neighbors, forever polite. 7 years to reach one room. And then, once there, 13 more years spent simply staying, circling, watching, the spacecraft folding itself into the rhythm of that giant hall, the way a guest settles into a favorite chair by the fire and does not want to leave. 20 years altogether, reaching and staying, before Cassini finally let itself drift down into Saturn's own clouds and go quiet there, folded into the room it had come to know so well it no longer needed to leave. A lifetime holds room for a visit like that. Not many. But one. If the years are given freely, and if the traveler is willing to let a single hall become, for a while, the whole of the known world. And New Horizons. New Horizons is the fastest thing human hands have ever released into the dark, launched with more raw speed than any craft before or since, leaving the driveway of Earth already faster than a bullet leaves a barrel. And even so, even with every advantage the house's own doors could offer, it still took 9.5 years to reach Pluto. That small, pale room at the very edge of what we once called the planets. 9.5 years, moving faster than any bullet, any rocket, any dream of hurry, and still the distance asked for the better part of a decade before it would let the walker through. Think of what 9.5 years holds inside an ordinary life. It is enough time for a child to grow into someone who can drive themselves home. Enough time for a house to be built and settled into and grown fond of. Enough time to forget almost what the beginning of the wait had even felt like. And that is what it costs to reach one small icy room at the very edge of the known house, traveling faster than anything built before it. This is the true shape of scale out here. Speed does not shrink the house. It only changes how slowly the vastness reveals itself to you, one patient year folding into the next, until, at last, a pale round threshold swims up out of the dark exactly where the numbers always said it would be. You might wonder how a candle so small, carried by hands so ordinary, could cross halls this wide at all. And this is where the house, in its quiet way, begins to help. The doors themselves lean the walker forward. Engineers call it a gravity assist, but you might think of it instead as the house recognizing a traveler passing through and offering a gentle push from a threshold, a swing past Jupiter's enormous mass, borrowing a whisper of its motion, past Saturn's, each flyby trading a fraction of a planet's ancient momentum for a little more speed carried onward into the dark. Nothing is spent that the giant rooms will miss. A planet the size of Jupiter could lend 1,000 such pushes and never feel the difference in its own long, slow turning. The push is almost nothing to a world that large, and everything to a craft that small. It is a kind of hospitality built into the architecture of the solar system itself, as though the house always intended for its far halls to be reachable, and left its doors slightly ajar to make the walking easier. One long corridor bending the traveler's path, just enough to save years off a decade already spent moving. Voyager 2 used this same trick to visit Uranus and Neptune in turn, each giant world passing its own small share of momentum onward, like a relay. A chain of open doors that only lines up this generously once every couple of centuries, and we happened, by pure late-century luck, to be walking the hallway when the doors were all standing open together. So yes, a single lifetime, unhurried and well spent, could genuinely reach these outer halls. Jupiter in 5 years, Saturn in 7, even Pluto, that last known threshold, in under 10. A person could, in principle, visit each of them once, spacing the journeys across the working decades of an adult life, arriving home between voyages to rest, to hold a hand, to watch a season change before setting out again, letting the ordinary rhythms of an earthbound year settle back into the bones before the next long crossing begins. The giant rooms are not closed to us. They are simply expensive in the one currency that cannot be manufactured or hurried along, no matter how clever the engines become: time, plain, and unrenewable. A decade given here, a decade given there, until the candle has walked further than almost anyone in the long history of the house ever will, its small flame having touched, one by one, halls that most lives never even glimpse from the doorway. But even after Pluto, even past that last pale threshold where the amber and blue giants finally give way to true and total dark, the hallway does not end. This is the strange and tender thing about it. You might expect the house to simply stop there, the way a corridor in an ordinary home ends at a final door with nothing behind it. It does not. The dark keeps unspooling, quiet and unmeasured, further than any lifetime's careful decade-by-decade walking could ever carry a single traveler on its own. And here is the part that settles something warm into your chest, low and slow, like a hand resting flat against your sternum. Someone has already gone that way. Someone already carried a small light out past the edge of the known rooms, out into the hallway that has no more doors, and that light is still moving, right now, while you lie here, further from home than any human voice or hand has ever reached. It left decades ago now, before most of the lights you know were ever switched on, before this very bed was made, and it has been walking, steady and alone, ever since, not carried by feet now, not needing rest, not needing to stop and catch its breath at any threshold, simply going, on and on, past every room this movement has named. You do not have to imagine it as frightening. There is no danger in a hallway this empty. There is only distance, and distance out here is closer to peace than to threat. The candle does not flicker out in the cold. It simply keeps its small, steady flame, patient, unbothered, carried now by nothing but its own quiet momentum, drifting toward a boundary that even the sun itself has not yet let go of, the last soft edge of its own front hall, still some way ahead, still waiting to be crossed by that same small waiting light. Someone has indeed gone further, twin travelers, launched not long after the last room's light was already known, in the late summer of 1977, when the century itself was young enough to believe the outer rooms could be answered in a single visit. Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 slipped past Jupiter and Saturn on the same graceful chain of gravitational handoffs, and then, instead of resting in any doorway, they kept walking. They are walking even now. Right now, as you lie here. Two small silver shapes are more than 24 billion kilometers from this bed, moving at roughly 17 kilometers every second, fast enough to cross the distance between your home and the nearest city before you could finish a single unhurried breath. And yet, against the true size of the house, barely a whisper of motion at all. Think of what that pace means stretched across a life. 17 kilometers a second is a speed the body cannot feel and the mind can barely hold, and yet it took the Voyagers more than 3 decades of patient walking to reach the place where the sun's breath finally runs out. That place has a name, low as a sigh, the heliopause. Picture it not as a wall, but as a threshold, the last warm sill of a house before the door gives way to the night outside. The point where the solar wind, that endless outward exhale of charged particles streaming from the sun, grows too faint to press back any longer against the tender pressure of the space between the stars. Before reaching it, both spacecraft first crossed something called the termination shock, a wide, even region where the solar wind slows and thickens, the way a breath slows as it nears the mouth, the way a step slows near the edge of a familiar room. Voyager 1 crossed the termination shock in December of 2004, already far from home, yet nowhere near the true edge. It would take nearly 8 more years of walking before it slipped through the heliopause itself in August of 2012, and Voyager 2, tracing its own measured path a little further south through the house, followed through its own crossing 6 years after that, in November of 2018. Instruments on both spacecraft found the heliosphere itself is not the tidy sphere early diagrams once drew. It is closer to a long, drawn-out bubble, bluntly rounded, where it meets the interstellar wind head-on and trailing behind in a longer tail. A single vast room with walls that lean. Let that arithmetic settle over you like a blanket smoothed flat. A spacecraft moving faster than almost anything humans have ever built needed 35 years just to cross the sun's own front hall. 35 years is most of a human life's working chapters, a childhood past, a career begun and carried into its later seasons, grandchildren perhaps already walking on their own small legs. And all of that span, all of it, spent simply reaching the doorstep of the entryway, the last threshold before the true dark begins. Now the Voyagers are older yet, nearer to 50 years aloft than to their first bright afternoon of launch, and they have not fully reached what most astronomers would call interstellar space in any complete sense, only its outer porch, its first cold air. 50 years. An entire career of watching, of listening, spent by a whole generation of scientists on Earth just to usher 2 small candles of light and metal past the vestibule of our own house and into the hush of the hallway beyond. And yet notice what the candle found there, at the threshold, because it changes everything about what the walking means. Beyond the heliopause, the solar wind does not simply vanish. It gives way, easy and unhurried, to something else entirely, the interstellar medium, a thin, faint breath of gas and dust and magnetic murmuring that fills the space between one star's house and the next. It is not empty out there, not truly. It is only unlit by any nearby fire, a low corridor lit at most by starlight arriving from doors so far away their glow has traveled decades, centuries, sometimes millennia to reach this particular stretch of hallway. Voyager 1's instruments felt the difference the moment they crossed. The plasma around the craft grew denser, colder, its own kind of hushed, the unmistakable signature of a spacecraft finally standing outside its home star's exhale for the first time in the history of our species. Instruments even caught the faraway hum of the interstellar plasma itself, a low vibration too fine for any ear, translated afterward into something almost like a note held on the edge of hearing. No human eye has seen this threshold. No human body has felt the pressure change. Only these 2 faithful travelers, carrying their small gold records and their fading radio voices, have stood there and reported back what the edge of the house actually feels like. Each of them still carries a message meant for whoever might one day find it drifting, a golden record etched with the sounds of this house they left behind. Rain, wind, a heartbeat, greetings spoken in dozens of languages, songs gathered from across the whole warm breadth of Earth. It is a strange thing to send a letter with no known address, and stranger still that the letter has already outlasted the length of most careers, most marriages, most of the ordinary spans a human life is built from, and is only now stepping past the threshold it was written to eventually cross. The record does not know if it will ever be read. It travels anyway, unbothered, patient beyond any patience a body could sustain, because out past the heliopause patience costs nothing. There is no clock ticking against it, no fuel gauge falling, only the long, easy math of momentum carrying a small, bright message forward through the dark. Consider, too, how far this leaves us from any true neighboring room. 24 billion kilometers sounds, spoken aloud, like an unimaginable distance, and for a body raised on Earth's short walks it is. It is more than 160 times the span between Earth and the Sun, a distance so wide that sunlight itself, which reaches your own eyes in a mere 8 minutes, needs nearly 23 hours to cross the same stretch and find Voyager 1 waiting on the other side. But measured against the space to even the nearest other star, it is scarcely a single step past the doorframe. 24 billion kilometers is only about 1/600th of a single light year, and the nearest star sits more than 4 light years distant. If the whole journey between here and there were a single unhurried hallway, the Voyagers, after nearly 50 years of faithful walking, have covered a stretch you could almost rewalk in an afternoon's nap, relative to what remains ahead. They will not arrive anywhere for tens of thousands of years yet, drifting now on no more fuel than their own momentum, sending home a faint, low signal that takes over 22 hours merely to cross the space back to Earth's listening dishes. A single sentence of light, murmured, taking nearly a full day just to reach an ear. And this is where the walking itself begins, at last to change its nature. All the rooms so far, the moon's near hallway, Mars's rust-colored doorway, the sun-warmed parlors of Venus and Mercury, even the giant cold chambers of Jupiter and Saturn, and the dim, distant threshold of Pluto, all of them were reached by feet in some sense. By engines that pushed against a floor of fuel and physics, launch windows opening and closing like doors on a schedule the house itself set. But past the heliopause there is no floor left to push against, no atmosphere to catch a candle's small flame, no traffic of near planets tugging at a trajectory to bend it gently along. Out here, in true interstellar dark, a traveling body simply keeps whatever motion it was given and carries it forward, uncorrected, unresisted, for as long as the dark goes on, coasting rather than walking, drifting rather than striding from doorway to doorway. Voyager's own engines fell silent long ago. What carries it now is only the memory of a push given decades earlier by Earth, by Jupiter, by Saturn, each one lending a little more momentum before letting go, the way a hand might set a small boat adrift on a current and trust the current to finish the work. The candle, if it is to go on from here, does not need legs at all anymore. It only needs to have already been given its motion, and then it can simply let go and drift. Let that thought carry you now, because this is where the shape of the journey changes for you too. Everything about traveling with feet, with fuel, with the discipline of aiming and firing and correcting a course belongs to the rooms already behind us. What lies ahead, past this last warm sill of the sun's house, asks nothing further of effort. There is no ground left to stand on, and no need for one. You do not have to walk the next hallway. You only have to be carried. And here, past the last known threshold, where the walking dissolves into something else entirely, notice that the floor is gone. There is no more hallway underfoot. No more boards to cross one careful step at a time. And so the candle stops being carried by feet. It only drifts. You are the candle now. Let that settle into you the way warmth settles into a blanket, without needing to be understood, only felt. There is no floor beneath you, and no floor is needed. Your body, heavy on the mattress a moment ago, has forgotten its own weight, the way a held breath is forgotten the instant it is finally let go. Nothing pulls at you. Nothing asks you to hold yourself up. You are simply here, small and lit, moving without effort through a dark so complete it feels less like an absence of light and more like a room built entirely of rest. Notice how your own flame behaves in this weightlessness. On a table, in a draft, a flame flickers and leans, chasing the air around it. Out here, with no air to chase and nothing to lean against, it simply stands upright and unbothered, a small round bead of warmth held at the center of you. It does not need tending. It does not need shielding from a wind that does not exist. It burns the way a held thought burns in the last minute before sleep, present, low, entirely without struggle. No one is steering. That is the part worth lingering on. For your whole life, something has always been steering. A current, an errand, a next thing waiting its turn. And out here, past the vestibule the voyagers spent nearly 50 years finding, there is nothing left to steer toward. You are being carried. Someone, or something, or simply the shape of space itself, has taken the small work of forward motion out of your hands, and all that remains is the drifting, patient and unbroken, mile folding into mile without a single one of them costing you anything. Around you, the corridor widens into something almost too large to call a corridor at all. This is the outer edge of the house, the coat closet at the far end of the last hallway, and it goes on longer than any room you have passed through tonight. Here float the comets, 1 trillion of them, by the kindest counts, each one no larger than a mountain, each one asleep. They are not falling. They are not burning. They have been hanging in this cold, unlit closet since the solar system was still gathering itself into rooms, since the sun itself was young, and they will likely hang here long after the last light in every inner room has gone out. Think of them the way you might think of coats left on a rack in a house that is rarely visited, shoulders slightly stooped, sleeves loose, waiting without impatience, in no hurry to be worn again. You drift past them, near enough that if you reached out a small light might touch a small dark shape, and neither of you would even notice the meeting. They do not stir. Comets this far from any sun do not have comas or tails to unfurl. They carry no fire, no display, only the quiet fact of themselves, unchanged for billions of years, hidden in a dark that has never once been asked to hold anything else. This is the Oort cloud. Though the word cloud undersells it, clouds drift and reshape themselves in an afternoon, while this one has held its position since before the Earth wore its current face. It is thought to stretch out perhaps 1 to 2 light years from the sun, a shell so vast that if the inner solar system were the size of a single room, this closet would wrap around the entire house and the yard beyond it, out past where any porch light could ever reach. Nothing about that distance needs to frighten you. It simply needs to be felt as size, the way you might feel the size of a night sky, without needing to count every star in it. You are not lost inside it. You are held inside it, the way a small object is held inside a much larger, much older, much calmer one. Each coat you pass carries its own history, though none of them are telling it tonight. Some formed alongside the very first rooms of the house, leftover material from a construction finished billions of years ago, tucked into this far closet and never called back inside. Others arrived later, nudged loose from nearer shelves by the slow tug of a passing star, drifting outward for centuries before settling into this same unhurried company. You cannot tell one story from another simply by passing near it, and you do not need to. It is enough to know that every shape around you has been waiting this long, and that waiting out here has never once felt like impatience. It only ever looks like stillness. Let yourself notice how little urgency there is in any of it. Voyager, the fastest thing humans ever sent walking out of the front hall, moves through this closet at roughly 17 kilometers each second, and even at that speed, tireless and never once slowing to rest, it would take tens of thousands of years just to cross from one side of this shell to the other. Say that slowly to yourself, not as a problem to solve, but as a size to rest inside. Tens of thousands of years spent doing nothing but drifting through a single closet at the far edge of one house. There is no reason to hurry that thought. Nothing here is waiting on you. The comets were not counting the centuries before you arrived, and they will not count the centuries after you pass. Time, out here, behaves less like a ticking thing and more like the closet itself, wide, unlit, unbothered, holding everything it holds without needing any of it to move faster. Feel what it is to be carried like this, without effort, without a single muscle asked to do a single thing. On the porch, the front lawn, the near rooms of the house, your body has always known the small tax of moving through the world, the lean into a step, the breath before a climb, the low hum of just being upright. Here there is none of that. You do not walk, you do not steer, you do not check a direction and correct it. You only continue, the way a held note continues after the hand has left the string, sustained by nothing but the fact that it began. If effort is a kind of weight, then this is a place entirely without weight, and the candle, small as it is, does not need to work to stay lit. It only needs to keep drifting, and the drifting does the rest. There is no destination pulling at you either, and that, too, is part of the ease. A journey with a destination always carries a small ache somewhere in it. A countdown, a checked watch, a wondering how much farther. This one carries none of that. You are not traveling toward the far wall of the closet the way a runner strains toward a line. You are simply being moved through it, the distance folding past you the way years fold past a life well rested, unremarked, uncounted. Each one indistinguishable from the one before it, and none of them urgent. Let your shoulders find that same ease wherever they are resting right now, on whatever mattress is holding you, while this small drifting light moves through the far dark on your behalf. Somewhere far behind you now, unseen but not forgotten, is the warm first room. The porch that circles it every 90 minutes, the rust-colored doorway, the giant rooms with their decade-long doors, all of it recedes into something more like a memory of light than light itself. And ahead is only more of this same unhurried dark, this same trillion sleeping shapes hung on a rack too large to see the end of, this same drifting that asks nothing of you but to be carried. And drifting here, weightless and unsteered, a small wondering rises the way a small wondering rises in the last minutes before sleep, half a thought and half a feeling. What if the carrying itself could move faster? What if this same soft, effortless drift did not need tens of thousands of years to cross one closet, but could somehow gather itself, quicken, without ever losing its ease? It is the kind of question that does not demand an answer right away, the kind you can simply set down beside you and let rest there, the way you might set down a small light on a windowsill before turning to see who else has been looking out at the same dark. Because somewhere, in rooms far behind the one you are drifting through now, people have spent lifetimes dreaming of exactly that, of carrying a candle faster than any candle has ever been carried, and what they imagined, quietly, patiently, sketched out on paper under lamps of their own, is a kind of dreaming worth drifting toward next. And drifting, as you are now, without floor or feet, it becomes almost natural to wonder what it would take to be carried faster than this, not to walk the hallway anymore, not even to be carried through it at the unhurried pace of a comet-lit closet, but to move the way the engineers and dreamers imagine moving, when they sketch the next candle on the next napkin, in the quiet hours when everyone else is asleep. Because the truth is, most of what has carried humans and their instruments through the house so far has been a kind of patient shove. A chemical rocket is, at its heart, a controlled exhale, a single enormous breath of fuel and oxidizer let out all at once, over a few loud minutes, and then silence for the rest of the journey. It is powerful. It is proven. It is how every human who has ever left Earth has left it. But it is also, in the terms of this house, a single hard push on a door that then swings freely, coasting, for years. There is a gentler way to open a door, and it has already been tried. Ion engines do not shove. They sip. Inside one, a whisper of xenon gas is coaxed into charged particles and released a little at a time, each particle carrying away only a whisper of momentum, so faint that the whole engine could not lift a single sheet of paper against Earth's own pull. A spacecraft called Dawn, sent out to visit 2 small worlds in the asteroid belt, carried an engine that pushed with roughly the force you'd feel from that same sheet of paper resting in your palm, absurdly small. And yet, because that faint push continued for years without stopping, patient as breath, unhurried as a held note, Dawn's speed accumulated the way interest accumulates in a long-held account, penny by penny, until it had gathered enough velocity to slip into orbit around one small world, linger there through months of patient study, and then let go, and drift on to the next, arriving at both in a single mission where a chemical rocket could only ever have visited one. It is not a push through the door so much as a lean against it, held for so long that the door eventually opens on its own. If chemical rockets are the shove, ion drives are the years-long lean, low, faint, tireless, and in their own way, strangely tender toward the fuel they sip so sparingly, a thimble of xenon stretched across a journey longer than most careers. But leaning is slow, and some rooms of the house are so far off that a lean, however patient, would take longer than a human life allows. So other dreamers have imagined something closer to controlled thunder, footsteps too large for any ordinary door. In the middle of the last century, a design called Orion imagined a ship pushed forward by a series of small nuclear detonations set off behind it, each one caught by a massive pusher plate riding shock absorbers the size of houses, each one a single vast step, thunder becoming footsteps at a scale almost too strange to picture from a bed on a small blue world. Engineers who worked on it in earnest, back when the idea felt within reach, imagined reaching the outer planets within a single working career rather than a lifetime spent waiting. It was never built. The world decided, wisely, that scattering such detonations even in the emptiness of space was a door better left closed. But its descendant, a study called Daedalus, refined the idea into something more contained and more distant in ambition. Fusion pellets no larger than peas, ignited in careful sequence, a controlled burn stretched across years rather than a single blast, aimed not at any nearby room but at a star system entirely outside this house. A proposal that never left the drawing board yet sits there even now, folded and waiting for materials and courage to catch up to the arithmetic that already exists. And then there is the oldest and perhaps most peaceful idea of all, the ship that carries no engine whatsoever. Only a sail. Sunlight itself, it turns out, carries a faint pressure, so faint you would never feel it on your skin, but persistent, falling on every surface in the house without pause, on every windowsill, every curtain, every closed eyelid turned toward a window. A solar sail is nothing more than a vast, thin mirror, thinner than a soap bubble, unfurled to catch that pressure the way a curtain catches a draft, and to let it push, ounce by ounce, for as long as the sail remains in sunlight. No fuel is spent, no tank runs dry. The ship simply drifts wherever the light leans it, faint push compounding on faint push, silent as dust settling on a windowsill, a journey made entirely of accumulated small kindnesses from a star. It is this same idea, scaled up into something almost startling, that gives the night its most hopeful physics. A project known as Breakthrough Starshot imagines not one sail, but many, thousands of sails, each no larger than a postage stamp, each carrying a chip of electronics lighter than a moth's wing, and each pushed not by sunlight, but by an enormous, coordinated array of lasers on the ground, all firing together for a matter of minutes. Minutes, not years, because the push, unlike the sun's ordinary glow, would be concentrated, deliberate, a beam of light thousands of times brighter than any single window's worth of daylight, aimed skyward, and held steady only long enough to send the little sail on its way. After that, no more pushing is needed at all. The sail simply keeps the speed it was given, coasting the rest of the distance on momentum alone, the way a stone keeps skipping long after the hand that threw it has gone still. The idea is almost tender in its patience and its ambition at once. Use light itself, the fastest thing the house allows, to press against something so light it can be swept along at a real fraction of light's own speed. The target speed is roughly a fifth of the speed of light itself, a number that, spoken aloud, sounds almost unreasonable, and yet is exactly what the physics permits if the sail is light enough and the laser strong enough. And the destination, fittingly, is the very nearest room outside this house altogether, a star called Proxima Centauri, 4¼ light years away, the closest neighboring light in the whole dark field beyond our own windows. At the ordinary pace of the ships we have already sent outward, a crossing like that would take longer than recorded history has lasted, tens of thousands of years of unbroken travel. But at a fifth of light speed, that same distance folds down to something almost human in scale, not millennia, but roughly 20 years. 20 years is a stretch of time this house already understands. It is the years between one Voyager launch and its next great milestone. It is a childhood, and then some. It is, remarkably, a single unhurried chapter of one ordinary life. And at the end of it, a small sail no larger than your palm would sweep past a star that is not our own, carrying with it the faintest signal that someone, once, from a small blue room, thought to ask how far a light could travel if only it were allowed to move quickly enough. None of this is built yet. The lasers do not exist at the needed scale. The sails are still thought experiments folded into spreadsheets. The numbers are hopeful rather than proven, and even if every piece were finished tomorrow, the little sail would carry no passenger, only instruments, a candle sent ahead to report back what a person might one day follow to see. But the arithmetic itself is sound, and arithmetic, unlike hardware, does not need to be built to be true. Somewhere between Dawn's faint decades-long lean, Daedalus's folded fusion dream, and Starshot's audacious 20-year sprint lies the entire unwritten future of how a candle might someday cross to the next house over. And it is worth noticing how each idea, however different its engine, shares the same lasting faith that a small enough push, sustained long enough or timed precisely enough, can eventually carry something impossibly far. And here, drifting as you are, eyes heavy, the night has one more secret to offer, its quietest one yet. Because moving this fast does something stranger than simply arriving sooner. Past a certain speed, the house itself stops keeping ordinary time for the traveler. The faster the candle is carried, the more the universe seems to lean in and slow its own clock down to meet it, bending the hours themselves in the traveler's favor, so that the years counted on the sail are not quite the years counted back on the doorstep left behind. It is a secret so strange that even the physicists who first uncovered it needed decades to trust it. And it is the secret that will carry you, gently now, into just how far a single unhurried lifetime could truly reach. Once the universe agrees to bend on your behalf, that secret is worth sitting with for a moment, because it changes the whole shape of the house you have been walking through tonight. Time, it turns out, is not a single steady drumbeat that ticks the same for the candle and for the door frames it passes. Time bends. And a traveler who keeps accelerating, who keeps leaning into speed the way you lean deeper into your pillow, finds that the faster they go, the more the clocks of home and the clocks on board begin to disagree, gently at first, then in ways that stretch the imagination past anything a hallway or a room was built to hold. Picture a ship that simply keeps its engines on, pushing at one steady G. The same pull you feel right now, your body's own familiar weight, pressing you into the mattress. Nothing dramatic. No crushing force, no violence to the body at all. Just a continuous, patient shove, the kind a body could live inside for years without complaint, because it feels like nothing more than standing on solid ground. For the first half of any journey, the ship accelerates under that comfortable weight. For the second half, it flips and decelerates under the same comfortable weight. So that arrival, whenever it comes, is as easy on the traveler as departure was. A whole life could be spent this way, walking a floor that always feels level, even while the ship outside is doing something almost unbelievable. Because held at that gentle, unbroken push, a ship does not simply get fast. It gets close enough to the speed of light that the universe itself starts keeping two different sets of books. One set for the house, the vast, ancient rooms of stars and gas and dust, ticking along at their own unhurried pace, centuries falling like dust motes in a shaft of light. And one set for the traveler inside the ship, where a wristwatch, a heartbeat, a breath, all continue to feel completely ordinary, completely their own size, and yet fall further and further behind the house's clock the longer the push continues. Not because the traveler's watch is broken. Because time itself, for someone moving that close to light, simply runs differently than it does for someone standing at rest. This is not a metaphor. It is measured, tested, confirmed 1,000 ways in laboratories and in the tiny clocks that ride on satellites above your head at this very moment, faintly disagreeing with the clocks on the ground by fractions of a second, exactly as the equations say they should. Think of it this way, if it helps the eyes stay closed. Every added mile per hour costs a little more effort than the mile before it, the way climbing stairs grows heavier the higher you go. Except here, the staircase never runs out. It only asks for more and more of the ship's fuel, its patience, its years, in exchange for less and less added speed. And exactly at that point of diminishing return, something unexpected opens up as compensation. The traveler, pouring everything into speed and gaining only slivers of it back, discovers that distance itself has quietly folded in their favor. The house does not get physically smaller. But from inside a ship moving close enough to light, the miles between rooms behave as though they had been gathered up and pleated, like a long curtain drawn nearly shut, so that what once took eons to cross now takes only years, measured by the traveler's own unhurried breathing. Now let the number arrive slowly, the way a candle's light reaches a far wall only after it has traveled the whole room, a traveler who spends 40 years of shipboard life under that steady 1G push. 40 years that feel, from the inside, like an entire unhurried human lifetime. Breakfasts and birthdays and the ordinary accumulation of days. The small rituals that make a life feel like a life, rather than a countdown, could cross the Milky Way. Not a room of it. Not a wing of it. The whole house. 100,000 light years of stars, spiral arms, nurseries where new suns are even now being lit, ancient cores where the oldest embers of the galaxy glow low and unhurried. 100,000 years of light's own travel, folded down into 40 years of one candle's private evening, no different in feeling, to the traveler, than any other ordinary 40 years spent living peacefully inside a moving room. It helps to say plainly what does not change, and what does. The traveler's pulse does not race. Their hair does not gray any differently than it would at home. A heartbeat counts out its familiar rhythm. A held breath lasts exactly as long as it always has. Nothing about the inside of the ship feels sped up or eased down, because from within, it never is. The strangeness only appears when the two clocks are finally set side by side, the one that stayed and the one that walked. This is the part that seems to break the rules of an ordinary house, and does not. Both clocks are telling the truth. There is no wrong watch. There is only distance and speed asking two honest observers to disagree about how much of the night has passed. And it does not stop at the edge of our own house. Reach further, hold the push a little longer, and the neighboring house itself comes into range. Andromeda, that faint smudge some patient stargazer once noticed and wondered about, sits 2.5 million light-years from here, a distance so large that light leaving it now would arrive at a version of Earth that no longer quite exists, its coastlines rearranged, its ice reshaped, before that light ever touched a human eye. And yet the traveler under steady thrust could stand at Andromeda's threshold after only about 28 years of their own unhurried life. Not 28 years of waiting, 28 years of living, aging, remembering, all while a house 2.5 million light-years wide simply falls away behind the ship like a hallway shrinking in a hushed and lingering dream. This is not a trick or a loophole. It costs everything. To bend time this generously, the ship must give the whole of its house clock over to the crossing. While the traveler ages 28 unhurried years, the friends and rooms and coastlines left behind age 2.5 million. Whoever waited at the doorstep waits far, far longer than whoever walked. The house is crossable. Every room in it, in principle, lies within reach of a single life, if that life is willing to hand over everything else to the walking, every friend, every familiar room, every year that the rest of the house was living without you. That is the price tag on the far end of the hallway, and it is honest about what it asks. So let this thought settle rather than startle. You are not required to pay that price tonight. You are not being asked to cross anything. You are lying in one small, warm room of an almost incomprehensibly large house, and the vastness of it, 100,000 light years here, 2.5 million there, is not a demand being made of you. It is, if you let it be, the opposite of a demand. Being this small inside something this large means nothing is owed by you, nothing is expected. Nothing has to be earned or crossed or reached before you are allowed to rest. The scale of the house is not a test you are failing by staying in one room. It is proof of how much softness a single flame is allowed, tucked into one corner of something so enormous that it will never run out of hallways, never run out of rooms, never miss the light that simply chooses, tonight, to stay low and steady exactly where it is. Being small, out here, is a kind of being held. The house does not need you to walk every inch of it to matter to the house. A candle set down in one room, burning low through the night, is doing exactly what a candle is for, not lighting the whole structure at once, not chasing every doorway down every corridor, but keeping one small circle warm and legible in the dark. That is enough. That was always enough. Whatever hallway your mind wandered down tonight, Mars, the gray hush past Pluto, the trillion sleeping shapes of the outer dark, even a galaxy or two glimpsed at the very edge of what a lifetime could reach, none of it asks the actual candle, the actual you, lying here, to go anywhere at all. The going is optional. The resting is not. And still, drowsily, almost too heavy-lidded to finish the thought, a small curiosity remains, the kind that arrives right at the edge of sleep and asks to be forgiven for lingering one moment longer. If a life could, in principle, cross 100,000 light years, if 2 lives could reach a neighboring house 2.5 million light years off, then surely, somewhere out past all of that, the hallways must finally stop. Every house has walls. Every structure, however grand, has an outer edge where the last room ends and something else begins. So where is it? Where does the house, this house, the one holding you, the one holding the Milky Way and Andromeda and every candle anyone has ever carried, actually, finally, end? And where the house finally ends is a question that even the candle, patient as it is, cannot answer by walking. Because the house is not simply large, it is growing. Every hallway you have crossed tonight, the entry hall of the moon, the sun-warmed parlors of Venus and Mercury, the vast cold rooms beyond Jupiter, the whole silver corridor of the Milky Way, sits inside something that is quietly stretching, in every direction, all the time, the way a house might expand its own floor plan while you sleep inside it, the walls easing outward a little further with each breath you take. You do not feel it here. Your bedroom is not growing tonight. The earth is not drifting from the moon in any way your body could sense. The gravity that holds this room together is far stronger than that slow stretching. But between the galaxies, out where almost nothing holds hands with anything else, that stretching is the loudest fact there is. Space itself carries the far rooms of the house away, and it carries them away faster the farther they already are. This is the strange arithmetic the night has been saving for last. A galaxy twice as distant recedes twice as fast, not because it is fleeing you, not because it wants distance, but because there is simply twice as much stretching space between you and it. And somewhere out past a certain distance, astronomers place it at roughly 16 to 18 billion light years, though the number is still being gently refined by careful hands. The stretching adds up to more than light's own speed can outrun. Understand what that means, slowly, because it is the kind of fact that sounds frightening until you turn it over and find its calm underside. It does not mean those galaxies are moving faster than light through space. Nothing breaks that old rule. It means the space between here and there is being created faster than light can cross it. The way a hallway might lengthen faster than a candle's glow can travel down it. Not because the glow slows down, but because the hallway itself keeps adding new floorboards ahead of every step of light. So light, the fastest messenger the house has ever known, the thing that crossed Earth to Moon in a breath and a quarter, the thing every ship in this story has spent a lifetime chasing, light from those farthest galaxies will never arrive here. Not in a year, not in a trillion years, not ever. And light that we might someday send outward, however patient the journey, could never arrive there either. It does not matter what engine carries it, what laser pushes it, what fraction of its own speed a sail might someday reach. Past that widening threshold, effort stops mattering. The way pushing harder against a hallway that lengthens faster than your legs can carry you stops mattering. Those doors are not merely far. They are closing, softly, permanently, a little more with every year that passes, sealed not by distance alone, but by the widening of the space between the seal and the key. And here is the part that turns even this into something oddly gentle rather than grim. Those doors are not closing, because anything is being taken from us. Nothing that was ever ours is being withdrawn. The stretching was already happening long before any candle was lit in this particular room, long before there was anyone here to wonder about hallways at all. We are simply, tonight, for the first time, being told the truth of a shape that has held this form, closing at its edges, open in its middle, since long before human eyes existed to measure it. Rest in this the way you might rest in any of the night's larger facts, not as a loss, but as an edge. Because it means the house you actually live inside, the reachable house, the one whose rooms a beam of light or a patient traveler could someday, in principle, still enter, is not endless after all. It is enormous beyond anything a single mind was built to picture, and it is also, in its own vast way, finite, bounded, a shape with a far wall, even if that wall lies unimaginably further than any candle could ever carry itself. Astronomers who spend their lives counting such things estimate 2 trillion galaxies lie within what our finest instruments can currently see. 2 trillion rooms glimpsed, if only as points of old light arriving after journeys of millions or billions of years, each one a lantern left burning long ago. And of those 2 trillion, only some fraction remain within reach, even for light itself, even given all the time there will ever be. The rest are rooms we can glimpse but never enter, doorways whose light still reaches us only because it left so long ago, before the stretching pulled those galaxies past the edge of what any future traveler could catch. Picture it the way you might picture a house at dusk, seen from a hill, more windows lit than you could ever count. And yet you already know, without needing to be told, that some of those windows belong to rooms you will simply never stand inside. That knowledge does not dim the house. If anything, it makes the lit windows you can still reach feel closer, warmer, more entirely yours. The 2 trillion is not a taunt. It is closer to an inventory, taken lovingly, of a home too large for any one life to walk end to end. offered to you the way a parent might describe a garden too big to explore in a single afternoon. Not to make the afternoon feel smaller, but to make clear how much of it was never expected of you in the first place. Let the house not mind this, and let you not mind it either. There is a peculiar tenderness in a boundary you did not choose and cannot move. The same tenderness a child feels discovering the walls of a large and safe home rather than an anxious, edgeless field. A universe with an edge to its reachability is not a smaller universe. It is simply one that has finally told you the truth about its size. The way a house might finally show you the floor plan after years of only ever describing its length in hallways. Some rooms were always going to be for looking at, not visiting. The astronomer's eye can still wander into them nightly, can still receive their old, faithful light long after the room itself has drifted past any door that could ever open onto it. That is its own kind of visit, quieter, asking nothing of engines or fuel or 40 ship years of a body pressed gently into a couch, only the asking of a lens turned upward and a long, unhurried exposure, the shutter open while the rest of a small blue room sleeps. And you may let this thought settle now, low in the chest. The way the best facts of the night always do, nothing in this vast closing set of rooms requires anything further from you. The candle in your hand, remember it, still burning, still small, still exactly as bright as it needs to be, was never meant to reach the 16 billion light-year wall. It was never meant to enter every one of 2 trillion rooms, or even 1,000 of them, or 10. It was carried tonight through an entry hall and a rust-colored doorway, and past the giant cold rooms, and out through a vestibule where the wind changes. And that alone is more house than most candles ever see. The far rooms will keep their doors closed, gently, permanently, and the house does not mind, and so you do not have to mind either. Let the closing of those far doors feel less like a boundary and more like a blanket being tucked at last around the edges of the bed. The world made knowable precisely because it is not endless, precisely because someone, at some point, could actually begin to describe where it stops. Which is its own quiet wonder, isn't it, lying here in the dark? That a species this young, standing on a floor this small, ever came to know any of it, the 16 billion light years, the 2 trillion rooms, the stretching between them measured and named. No one flew out to the far wall and paced its length. No one carried a candle even a fraction of that distance. Every number in this whole long night, the light years, the recession speeds, the trillions of galaxies, was gathered from here, from this room, from beds not so different from the one you are lying in now, by people who never left the porch light of Earth at all. So the question the night leaves you with, soft and low as a candle guttering toward its own last inch, is not how far you personally could walk. It is how anyone, ever, first began to measure a house this large from so small and stationary a bed. Who first looked up and understood that the faint points overhead were not decorations on a nearby ceiling, but other rooms, other fires, some of them older than the floor beneath our own feet. Who first thought to ask how far, and found a way, from one unmoving window, to actually begin answering. No one ever stood at the front door of the house and simply announced its size. The distances came in the way a room's true width comes to a child in the dark, by reaching, by touching one wall and then the other, and counting what lies between. Someone had to do that reaching for us, across centuries, mostly at night, mostly alone, mostly while the rest of the world had already gone to bed. That is how the house was measured. Not by walking it, no one could walk it, but by watching it patiently until it began to tell on itself. The first true measurement belongs to a man named Friedrich Bessel in a stone observatory in Nixburg in the winter of 1838. He chose an unremarkable star called 61 Cygni, chosen only because it seemed to drift a little faster against its neighbors than a star so far away should. Night after night he returned to the same eyepiece, waiting for Earth to carry him from one side of its orbit to the other, half a year apart, so that the star would shift its position against the ones behind it, the way a single lamppost seems to slide against a distant skyline when you tilt your head from one shoulder to the other. The shift was smaller than anything the eye wants to call a shift at all, a fraction of a degree, hidden inside the ordinary trembling of the atmosphere itself, the kind of motion that could be dismissed 100 times before anyone trusted it enough to write it down. And yet, from that sliver of an angle, Bessel worked out that 61 Cygni sat roughly 10 light years away, the first time a human being had ever placed a number, a real number, on the gap between one star and the next room of the house. He did this with a telescope, a chair, and enough winters of returning to the same dark window to notice what almost no one would think to look for twice. Other astronomers in other cold cities had been chasing the same sliver of angle for years and came up empty. Bessel simply outlasted the problem. One more night. And then one more after that, until the number held steady across repeated tries and could finally be trusted. It is worth pausing on how small that first step really was, because everything after it depended on trusting a measurement almost too faint to believe. 10 light years does not sound far when it is only a name spoken aloud, but it meant that the light reaching Bessel's eye that winter had left its source before he was born had crossed a decade of empty dark before it ever touched the glass of his lens. He was not just measuring a distance. He was, without quite naming it that way, measuring how old the light itself already was by the time it found him. Decades later, in a room at the Harvard College Observatory, a woman named Henrietta Leavitt sat before drawers of photographic glass plates, comparing the faint smudges of stars that brightened and dimmed on a rhythm, stars called Cepheid variables, most of them clustered in a faint smear of light, now known as the Magellanic Clouds. Her task, as it was described to her at the time, was modest, measuring and cataloging, not theorizing, one plate after another, thousands of tiny points of light logged by hand into ledgers that mostly no one else would ever open. But she noticed something the plates kept insisting on. Once she had looked at enough of them to trust the pattern, the longer a Cepheid took to swell and fade, the more truly luminous it was. Not how bright it looked from Earth, which depends on distance and can lie, but how bright it actually burned, which does not lie at all. That relationship, found by one careful woman comparing thousands of quiet points of light across years of unglamorous cataloging work, became a yardstick that could be laid against any Cepheid anywhere in the sky. Measure the pulse. Know the true brightness. Compare it to how faint it appears from here. And the distance falls out on its own, almost gently, once you know what to look for. It was this yardstick that a man named Edwin Hubble later carried out to a hazy patch once thought to be a cloud inside our own galaxy, only to find, with Leavitt's method in hand, that it lay so far away it had to be an entire galaxy of its own. A house down the street, glimpsed for the first time as a house rather than a smudge on the window glass. Her name is attached to fewer of the old star charts than it should be, but every galaxy since measured this way still leans, quietly, on the pattern she was the one to notice first. Even inside our own solar system, the true scale had to be earned the same patient way. For a long while, astronomers knew the relative shape of the planets' orbits, how far Venus sat compared to Earth, how far Mars sat compared to Venus, but not the true distance in miles or kilometers, not the actual size of the rooms nearest our own. They had, in a sense, a floor plan without a single measurement written on it, all the proportions right, and none of the true numbers filled in. That arrived in 1961, when scientists aimed a radio dish at Venus itself and sent out a pulse, then simply waited for the echo to return off its clouds. The wait was a matter of minutes, but timed against the fixed speed of light. That wait became a ruler. From one bounced signal, the true length of an astronomical unit, the distance from Earth to the Sun, was fixed with a precision no eye alone could ever have managed, and every other distance in the solar system suddenly snapped into true scale behind it. Like a house whose every room takes on its real size the moment you finally learn the length of the front hall. The same trick, bouncing a signal off something and timing its return, would later guide the very probes we sent outward, each one checked and corrected against the echo of its own small voice, finding its way home. And once the ruler existed, we began sending it outward in other forms. Every probe launched past the planets, every telescope lifted above the blurring breath of our own atmosphere, has been a kind of candle set down on a windowsill far from home, left burning quietly in the dark, so that its light, or its signal, could report back what it saw from out there. Voyager's faint radio whisper, still crossing the space between the stars, still arriving 9 hours late, still being caught by dishes tuned to listen for almost nothing. Telescopes lifted into orbit specifically to watch the sky, without the shimmer of our own air blurring the view, patiently photographing galaxies too dim and too far for any ground-based eye. A spacecraft named for the same task Bessel once did, with pencil and eyepiece, sent up decades later to measure the tiny parallax shift of over 1 billion stars at once, redrawing the whole shape of our galaxy from a vantage no human eye will ever personally have. Each of these is a small, steady flame left somewhere ahead of us, its only task to keep reporting back, for years, for decades, so that the map of the house could keep filling in one more room, one more hallway, one more faint doorway at the edge of what any of us could see unaided. What all of this shares across 2 centuries is its quietness. None of it happened in the middle of a bright afternoon with a crowd watching. It happened in cold observatories after midnight, in drawers of glass plates gone unnoticed for years until the right patient eyes found them, in radio dishes listening to silence for the shape of an echo, in probes sending their small signals home long after the scientists who built them had grown old, retired, fallen silent themselves. Tired people, ordinary hands on ordinary instruments, doing the same small act over and over. Look, note, wait, look again, until the numbers finally agreed with themselves and the house's true size came into focus, one careful measurement at a time. You do not need to hold any of those numbers now. Let them go the way a name goes soft at the edges just before sleep. What matters is only this, that somebody was already watching. Somebody in every century behind this one has already looked up into the same dark that hangs outside your own window tonight and tried, quietly, to understand how far the light reaches. The candle is low now. Its flame has gone small and steady, the way a flame does near the very end of a long night, no longer reaching for anything, only resting in its own warmth. You do not have to walk any farther. You do not have to measure anything at all. Somewhere above the roof of this one warm room, the whole house goes on being vast, being patient, being hushed in a way that asks nothing of you. Let your eyes close the way a door closes on its own, softly, the last of the light already fading under it. Tonight has been about a single small candle, carried patiently through an endless house, and about how far its faint light could travel in the span of one ordinary life. Tonight has been about the doorstep, about leaving the warm, familiar rooms of Earth behind and crossing, room by room, through the inner hush of the solar system, past neighbors of stone and cloud that once felt impossibly far away and now feel almost close enough to touch. Tonight has been about the long hallways, about the outer giants standing patient in their wide orbits, and about two tireless little travelers who slipped past the last planet and simply kept walking, carrying a golden record and one soft goodbye out toward the edge of the sun's own house. Tonight has been about the space between rooms, about distances so vast that starlight itself needs years just to cross them, and about the strange, almost tender mercy folded into that vastness, that the faster a traveler moves, the more time seems to lean gently in their favor, stretching itself thin so that a long, long journey might still fit inside one unhurried life. And tonight has been about the farthest rooms of all, about horizons so distant that their light left home before the Earth had even finished cooling, and about what it might mean for one small candle to look all the way out to the edge of what can be seen and finally understand the true, patient shape of the house it has always been walking through. None of this needs anything from you tonight. You do not have to remember which room came first, or how many light years sat between one hallway and the next, or what any of the numbers were. The candle remembers, if it needs to remember anything at all. Your only task tonight was always the smallest one there is, to lie still, to listen, and to let the walking happen somewhere far off, in a dim, drowsy corner of your mind, while the rest of you slips down into something deeper and does not have to keep watch over anything at all. Before you go, another quiet exploration is already waiting on the screen just past this one, ready to begin on its own the moment this one finishes, so there is nothing you need to reach for, nothing you need to choose. Just let it begin on its own, the way one dream sometimes opens quietly into the next, without asking permission. And if you want something small to loosen into before sleep finally takes you, not to answer, only to wonder about for a moment and then let go of completely, imagine your own candle, the one that belongs only to you, and ask yourself, without needing any real answer, which room of the house it might be standing in tonight. Let that question drift. Let it dissolve the way breath dissolves against a cold window, there for a moment and then gone. There is nothing to solve, nothing to finish, nothing left to carry. The candle has done its walking for tonight, and it is setting itself down now in some far, patient room, its small flame low and steady, content to wait there until you are ready to walk again. Feel your body sinking a little further into the bed beneath you, heavier now, warmer now, each breath a little longer and easier than the one before it. Feel the whole enormous house of the night settle into hush around you, every hallway darkening, every doorway closing softly on its own, until there is only this one room left, this one bed, this one long, unhurried breath following another. The house can wait. The distances can wait. Everything you were curious about tonight will still be there, patient and unchanged, whenever you next want to wonder about it. For now, there is only this room, this stillness, this small, warm dark. Sleep well.